la la. I can try to look very Bardot, but I always sound like an American. I'm like Joey on Friends when Phoebe's like, je m'appelle Claude, and Joey's like, je te plie flou. I can try to look Parisian, but you know what? The accent, all American. Hello starlets, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the best version of yourself and live your dreams. So if you want to be an Everyday Starlet, be sure you hit that subscribe button and be sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my videos. Today I am trying to create a makeup look inspired by one of the great starlets of our time, Brigitte Bardot. That was the most American attempt at sounding French ever. I can't with myself. I have been feeling very Bardot lately. I've just been feeling very kind of like Bardot's version of Parisian, but maybe a little bit more of a modern version of it. I don't know. I've actually had several requests to make a YouTube video tutorial on how I do my current makeup look that I've been wearing in a lot of my Instagram pictures. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, I've been trying to post every day, and I really try to post very inspiring messages, body positivity, fitness motivation, stuff like that. So be sure you follow me on Instagram. I'll put my handle on the screen, and I will link my Instagram in the description box below. I've also had a lot of requests on some older videos that I've done on how I got my eye makeup looks in some of my videos from like a few years ago. And to be totally honest with you, my eye makeup looks are very basic, and it's really just a technique, and you can actually adapt it to just about any eyeshadow palette. You can actually change up the colors. I've had a lot of people request how I did a smoky eye look that I wore in videos that was like over a year ago. I can actually do a separate video on that, but to be honest, it's the exact same technique I do for this eye makeup look. I just use more silvers and smoky grays. So I actually did this whole makeup look in a tutorial for you guys, emphasizing on sort of the eye makeup technique and how I pick the colors that I use in several of my palettes. So if you guys want to see how I do my Bardot inspired everyday basic eye makeup technique look, then just keep watching. Okay, so first of all, I apologize for the AC noise, but it is so humid that if I try putting on my makeup without the air conditioning on, it's just gonna melt right off. So I apologize for any background noise there might be, but I'm gonna start out with the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. This is my favorite primer. I've tested a lot of primers in my day, and it's just my favorite. Next, I'm gonna use my holy grail favorite foundation, the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. One of the reasons I love this foundation is because it's full coverage, but it never feels heavy. It's always lightweight. And my favorite way to apply this foundation is with my Clarisonic foundation brush. I have a whole review on this. And I always go over my foundation with my beauty blender. I'm gonna go in and do my brows next. I'm gonna use my Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz. I use the shade medium brown because even though my hair is super light, I find that my brow hairs are darker, and I've kind of been into a slightly darker brow lately. I don't do a whole lot because my brows have been microbladed, and I actually have a whole video reviewing my microblading process. I actually walk you through the whole thing, film it. I film like all the healing time, and I know a lot of you in that video wanted an update when I went for my touch-up, and I actually did my touch-up and they have healed. To give you guys an update for those of you that asked, we went a little bit darker the second time because like this brow didn't take as much. You can see even I have filled in a little of it, but it's lighter. I think, you know, my skin is oily, so microblading doesn't tend to last quite as long on oily skin. This brow held it really well. This one didn't as much, but I do think after my touch-up, they looked a little bit more even. And I would say after my touch-up, the healing process was pretty much the same, so you can go back and watch my original video. But I do think the healing process felt like it went a little smoother, and that may have just been because I knew what to expect. So I find that like on an everyday basis, I don't do too much to my brows, but I do feel like when I'm gonna take photos or I'm going someplace or I'm actually doing like a makeup look, I just kind of fill them in a little bit with my brow pencil just to kind of like even them out a little bit. But I do think that filling them in goes so much quicker and so much smoother because the basic shape is already there from the microblading. So I am really glad that I had it done. It didn't make my brows no maintenance, although to be totally honest with you, I'm not really a high maintenance brow person anyway. I love my brows and I love having nice brows, but they're not something I spend a huge amount of time on. Next, I'm gonna go in and color correct. I've done this a million times before. I'm using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Honey, because this is actually a very peachy, warm shade for my skin. And I use this to try to cover up my dark circles. I've been super tired lately. I haven't really been getting much sleep because I've been so busy. So my dark circles are on full display. I kind of just blend that in a little bit. And then I go in with my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Vanilla. And that I just kind of use under my eyes as my under eye concealer. And that I just blend in with a beauty blender. I don't know about the rest of you, but like when I cover up my dark circles, I just like my face so much better. Okay, next I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do my eye makeup. In my older videos, most of my videos, except for my gray smoky eye look that I was doing like a while ago, but for most of my videos when I had a bronze smoky look, I used the Maybelline Badge of the Bronze. I think this may have been discontinued, which is a shame because this is my favorite cream eyeshadow ever. I used to use this as my base. I haven't been as much anymore because I've been kind of going for a lighter look over the lid. But in any of my older videos, like for those of you that were asking me, I would always start with this as my base. I'm not gonna do that today. So I am gonna start because I have oily eyelids. I like to prime my lids and I use my Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. This is kind of my go-to. Eyeshadow primer has been such a game changer for me. I had the worst eyeshadow creasing until I discovered it. Okay, now, my eyeshadow technique is actually so simple that I almost feel weird even sharing it with you guys. Honestly, I do like the same technique with so many different eyeshadow palettes. I have an obscene amount of like neutral eyeshadow palettes. Too Faced Naturalized, this isn't the newest one, and I don't think this is the original one. I think this is like the middle one that they've had. This was my favorite for a long time, and it still kind of might be, but I love the Kylie Bronze Shadow Palette, and I love my original Urban Decay Naked palette. They're my go-tos, and I do the same technique with all of them. The shades just vary a little bit, but I'm gonna use my Urban Decay Naked palette. What I always do is I try to start with the lightest shade, or whatever shade is the closest to sort of my skin tone. I'm gonna go all over my lid with it, so it doesn't really matter what brush you use. In this particular case, lightest shade here is the shade Virgin. This has a shimmer to it. I kind of like that for certain looks. Sometimes I'll go into, say for example, in my Too Faced Natural Eyes palette, the lightest shade I would use is more of like a matte. It's actually called Heaven, but it's sort of a matte vanilla shade. Like in the Kylie palette, it would be this shade right here, which is again is more of a matte vanilla. So it's just a matter of getting whichever shade in the palette is kind of the closest to a flesh tone shade. I'm just gonna use this one, which is just more of a shimmer shade. This really just acts as a base. It makes the other shadows that you put on go on smoother, and it also like sets your primer. How high up you go, like if you want to go all the way up to your brow bone or not, that's kind of up to you. The next thing I do with any of my palettes is I look for a matte mid-tone shade. In this one, I could either use the shade Naked, or sometimes I use the shade Buck. Sometimes I'll use both. It depends on whether I'm going for a lighter daytime look or more of an evening look. In the Natural Eyes palette, I love to use Cashmere Bunny for this look, and sometimes if I'm going for something a little bit deeper, I'll even add a little bit of the Sex Espresso. In the Kylie palette, I love this shade right here. Really, like any sort of mid-tone matte shade is the shade that you want to use. I'm gonna start out with the shade Naked right now, just to kind of start things out, and I just kind of go in my crease. I concentrate mostly just because it works better for my eye shape. I concentrate a little bit more on the outer corner end of the crease as opposed to going too far in, and I kind of go in here a little bit. So I'm almost making a V, but this part is a little bit curved and this part is coming in. Kind of just like deepening up the outside of the eye. Actually, with something like this, it's always best to start out really lightly. So I always try to tap the excess like on the palette here. It's always easier to add more, but it is not impossible to remove any, but it's harder. I'm gonna actually take the shade Buck and I'm gonna kind of go in very lightly and just kind of go over that a little bit, just to deepen it up a tiny bit more. I'm not stressing about it being perfect at all. This is for me, it's a very Bardot inspired look. And you know, she was kind of about not necessarily being perfect and having everything polished. She was kind of like a little bit sort of wild and all over the place. So I don't want to look messy, but it doesn't have to be like precision perfect. Okay, the next thing I do is I kind of try to go in with some kind of a base shade. It's usually something shimmery. In this case, I'd go in with the shade Sin. In my natural eyes palette, I would use the shade Silk Teddy. And in the Kylie palette, I would use, I don't even know how her shades line up. I guess this would be Quartz, but I'd use this sort of like shimmery shade right here. Just kind of any kind of pale shimmery color to kind of make the lid pop a little bit. So I'm going in with the shade Sin, and I'm kind of just going like concentrating on the inside of the eyelid. Now, if the option is there, and in most of these palettes, there is an option, I like to go in with more of like a shimmery bronze color. Like I love the shade Sidecar, obsessed with the shade. Usually more of like a bronzy shimmer shade, and I kind of just pop that almost in the center of my lid, kind of almost like blending in where the really pale shadow is and the deeper matte shadow. Honestly, it just adds a little bit of dimension, blends it in together a little bit. That was the shade Sidecar. In the Natural Eyes palette, it would be the shade Push Up. In the Kylie palette, it would be like this bronzy shade down here. The next thing I'm going to do is put on my liquid liner. My favorite liquid liner is actually the Stila Stay All Day. I love this. I've tested a ton of liquid liners, and this is my absolute favorite. I love this one so much, and I think especially if you were a beginner, I think this is a great liner to learn on. It is super easy to use, lasts all day, great liner. Mine, I let it get way too old and it's all dried up. It's not working that well. So I'm not gonna be using that today. I'm actually gonna use my Tom Ford. Does anyone else hold their breath when they're doing their liquid liner? I feel like I just held my breath for like way too long and the oxygen totally left my brain. Anyway, I'm just gonna touch up this line with concealer because I'm just not having a good eyeliner day. And one thing I will do is kind of go in with my matte crease shades sometimes and just kind of blend that in sometimes if it seems like, I don't know, just if it seems like it ended up in an odd place with wherever my liner ended up, because sometimes no matter how much we try, we can't control our liquid eyeliner. It just does what it wants. If any of it gets underneath the line, just kind of clean that up. And I just take a clean blending brush and I just kind of try to blend all that together. It kills me when people say like that they're trying to go for this particular look with a liquid eyeliner. I feel like your liquid eyeliner, it does what it wants. You can go in and be like, I've got a plan for you. And your liquid liner's like, no, no, no. I've got a plan for you. Next thing I do is I take some RCMA No Color powder, and I take a smaller brush, just very lightly. I don't have a lot of powder on the brush. Sometimes I go in with a black and a really dark shade. Sometimes I go a little bit lighter. Today I'm actually gonna go with Buck, I think. I'm gonna at least start there. I kind of just use this brush and I just kind of go just under, like just along the lower lash line. Just kind of gives my eye a little bit more definition. Okay, so I have actually had my lashes lifted and tinted. I have a whole video about that, which I will link to this video. I've had it done for a second time. I'm actually gonna use my Pure Big Look. I love this mascara. It has argan oil in it, so I kind of feel like it's kind of making my lashes healthier by using it. And I don't need to curl them because they are lifted. So the eye makeup is done. Again, this is like the technique that I use. You can actually switch up the shades. Honestly, it's really just a technique, and you can kind of, it's like a recipe and you can kind of adjust the ingredients to however it is that you like and whatever suits you. So next thing I'm gonna do is just go over my face with just a little bit of RCMA No Color powder. I don't wanna be powdery. I kind of like keeping my skin a little dewy. I have oily skin, so I need to set my makeup. Plus it's like super humid, so I just need something to kind of hold it in place. The next thing I do is I take the NYX Taupe blush. It's the HD blush in taupe, basically. This is probably the most affordable thing that I use in my makeup. I go in and I just sort of contour my cheekbone. That went kind of heavy. I'm gonna have to blend that in. Contour, it's usually best to keep a light hand. I did not do that. I personally kind of like to hit my jawline because I have a very wide jaw, but that is, you know, personal preference. I kind of hit the sides of my nose a tiny bit. I actually do that last, and there's the least amount of product on my brush because I'm not really super into nose contour, so I don't really think I need it that much. I just feel like adding a little bit of it just sort of defines my face a little. I'm just gonna kind of blend this out a little bit just because I got a little bit too much. Normally I'd blend it out with bronzer, but this just got a little bit too intense here. Next, I'm using I'm actually hit pan on this. I have another one, I'm like using this one up until it's done. This is my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I use the shade Light Bronzer because I know a lot of you ask. I actually go in like a 3. See, it's kind of like a 3 on my face, just to kind of bronze up the outside. I kind of like the outside of my face to be a little bit darker than the center because I have a wider face. So this kind of, I feel like the brightness brings your attention to the center of my face, and then the bronzer kind of shades the outside so it looks just a little bit thinner. Now my cheeks are actually naturally quite rosy, so I actually don't really love going in with an actual blush. I'll either use the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Mood Light because it's actually kind of like a pinky lavender shade. It has a very, very subtle shimmer. It just gives it a nice radiant glow and just a hint of color. I don't like this for all over my face because I feel like it's just too dark for, you know, the rest of my face. I've tried it as an all over face powder and it wasn't cute. Or I'll break out my well-loved ambient lighting palette. I love this. I love this center shade. Sometimes I'll use this on the center of my face as a highlight, but I will use this shade, which I think is the Radiant Light shade, if I'm going for a very bronzy, peachy look. I think for today, I'm gonna go into my Mood Light and just sort of add a hint of that. It doesn't show up a whole lot, but I just feel like it gives my face just a little bit something extra. Next, I'm gonna go with my favorite highlighter. This is the Kylie Cosmetics highlighter in the shade Cotton Candy Cream. I just absolutely love it. I will actually pop this sometimes on my brow bone, but I do concentrate on the tops of my cheekbones. I hit my nose. I don't hit my nose, but I end in my nose. Okay, can you tell I love this lip liner? I'm afraid to sharpen it because I feel like I'm just gonna shave off my fingers. This is the MAC lip pencil in Soar. This is my favorite shade. I feel like since I started using this lip liner, I can make almost any nude work for me. Nude lips were always kind of a struggle for me because of my skin tone, I can easily look washed out and ghostly. But this lip liner just kind of like, it just kind of makes the nude lips just come to life. I'm gonna kind of slightly overline my lips because I definitely want that pouty Bardot look. And then to fill in my lips, honestly, this is probably my favorite nude lipstick ever. I get more compliments when I wear this than probably any other shade of nude lipstick that I wear. And I know when I started my channel, I kind of was known as like the red lip girl, and I still love a red lip, and I love a hot pink lip. I love a light pink lip. For the Bardot look, you gotta go with a nude, and this is my absolute favorite. This is the Kylie Cosmetics Velvet Liquid Lipstick in the shade Charm. I actually didn't even think I was gonna like this when I bought it, and I absolutely adore it. The velvet, like it doesn't last quite as long as a matte, I will admit, but it is still super long lasting, but it feels so light, and it does feel like velvet on the lips. It's amazing. And this is a look right here. I feel like I don't know, I feel very Bardot in it. That wasn't actually my initial thinking when I started doing this makeup look. It just kind of, I did the look. This was kind of like the way that I liked my face to look. And then when I took pictures of it, I just was like, oh, I just feel very Brigitte Bardot. What can I say? Oh ho ho, pepe la pew. Those are the only French words I know. Bon appetit. I don't know. I'm so American, I can't even handle myself. So if you guys want me to do more makeup tutorials, I haven't been doing a lot of them because they're actually not really very popular videos on my channel because I'm not like a celebrity makeup artist. I'm just me, and what I do is really basic and really simple, and this is actually how I do my makeup, just sometimes changing up the colors and the palettes for just about every makeup look. So this is it. But if you guys have any video requests, makeup tutorials, reviews, you know, fitness, anything, be sure you follow me on Instagram because I'm posting a lot there. Again, any other video requests, I love when you guys send me requests, so let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. A while back, I was suffering from anxiety and depression, and I truly believe that beauty and makeup and taking care of myself saved my life. and I believe it can save yours too. So if you want to be an everyday starlet, be sure you hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on all my social media channels, especially Instagram. They'll be listed in the description box below, along with a link to all these products. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.